Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to visit India next year, with Kremlin Aide Yury Ushakov revealing that the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has extended an invitation to the Russian leaders, while the dates for the visit will be set in early 2025. In October, Modi visited the Russian city of Kazan for the BRICS Group's summit. Navy Chief Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi has said that India is set to seal the proposed procurement of 26 naval variants of Rafale jets and 3 additional Scorpene submarines soon. Speaking at a media briefing ahead of Navy Day on Monday, Admiral Tripathi has also said that the government's approval for 2 nuclear-powered submarines indicates its faith in the country's indigenous capabilities. The Navy chief further added that 62 ships and a submarine are currently under construction within the country as part of its efforts to boost its naval power. Meanwhile, here's what he said on Pakistan.
We are aware about the growth, surprising growth of Pakistan Navy, and they aim to become a 50-ship force by some time, by next decade. Seeing the economy of Pakistan, it is very surprising that how they are building or getting so many ships and submarines. Obviously, they have decided to choose weapons over welfare of their people. So, good luck to them.
Bangladesh's immigration police stopped more than 50 members of Hindu spiritual organization ISKCON from crossing into India from the Benapole border checkpoint with valid travel documents. The Bangladesh police did not allow the ISKCON members to proceed, citing quote-unquote suspicious travel. Now, Hindu devotees from across Bangladesh arrived at the land port along the international border on Saturday. As per local media, they wanted to leave the strife-hit nation through the Benapole-Petropole border crossing. US President Biden has signed a presidential pardon for his son, Hunter Biden, a reversal from his previous statements that he would grant him neither a pardon nor commutation. Hunter Biden was the first child of a sitting president to face criminal charges. He was convicted on felony gun charges this summer and pleaded guilty on felony tax charges. Despite the White House's assurances last month that the US president had no intentions of pardoning his son, the announcement has now come through. Meanwhile, US President-elect Donald Trump has slammed Joe Biden's move, calling it an abuse and miscarriage of justice. US President-elect Donald Trump has nominated Sheriff Chad Chronister, the top law enforcement officer of Florida, to lead the Drug Enforcement Administration. Chad will stop the flow of fentanyl and other illegal drugs across the southern border. The DEA administrator is a Senate-confirmed position. Chronister will work closely with Trump's choice for Attorney General, Pam Bondi. US President-elect Donald Trump has nominated Massad Boulos as a senior advisor on Arab and Middle Eastern affairs. Boulos is a Lebanese-American businessman and father-in-law of Trump's daughter, Tiffany. Boulos arranged Trump campaign's effort to engage the Arab-American community in Michigan. He organized meetings with large Arab-American population angered by Biden's backing of Israel's offensives in Gaza and Lebanon. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has arrived in Kiev to meet President Volodymyr Zelensky on a surprise visit. This marks Scholz's first visit to Ukraine's capital in 2.5 years. The Chancellor's arrival comes shortly after his controversial phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin, which also drew criticism from Kiev. Scholz previously visited Kiev in June 2022 alongside French President Emmanuel Macron and then Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi. It marked the first visit by 3 European leaders since the outbreak of the full-scale war. Massive protests have erupted in Georgia over the government's decision to suspend the country's bid to join the European Union. Authorities clamped down hard on demonstrators, prompting condemnation from the US. Police fired tear gas and used water cannons, and more than 40 people were injured over the weekend. Georgia's Prime Minister accused the opposition of plotting to overthrow the government, while the country's pro-EU president has called for fresh elections. China has pledged quote-unquote resolute countermeasures following the United States' decision to approve more arms sales to Taiwan. This comes just hours before the island's president, William Lai-ching-te, made a transit through the state of Hawaii, which further angered Beijing. In a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the US arms sale to Taiwan sends a wrong signal to the island's Taiwan independence forces and undermines US-China relations. Taiwanese President Lai-ching-te has visited the Pearl Harbor National Memorial in Hawaii and paid homage to those who perished during the 1941 attack during his visit to Hawaii. Lai toured the historic site and paid his respects to those who died during the Pearl Harbor attack at the memorial to the fallen soldiers. The president also met and had dinner with overseas-based compatriots before thanking the United States for facilitating the visit under the principles of security, dignity, comfort. Large protests took place across Venezuela, calling for the release of prisoners detained in protests against the disputed re-election of President Nicolás Maduro. Called by opposition leader Maria Machado, the demonstrations are also calling for a halt to what some are calling government repression. In a case that has outraged the community and deepened the historical distrust of law enforcement in the US, a white Kansas police detective accused of sexually assaulting black women and girls is set to go on federal trial. It is a part of a tangle of cases tied to decades of alleged abuse. 71-year-old Golubsky has been charged with 6 felony counts of violating women's civil rights and, if convicted, could die in prison. In a contrasting trend to the rest of Europe, Romania's governing left-wing party is set to keep its majority in parliament following general elections. However, it will face off against a resurgent far-right opposition with an increased number of seats. The election is set to have the highest voter turnout for a parliamentary election in 20 years, as polling shows more than 52.3% of eligible voters voted for their next Prime Minister and Parliament. Kosovo Prime Minister Albin Kurti accused Serbia of sponsoring an attack in collaboration with Russia on Sunday. Kosovo officials said police had arrested 8 people after an explosion on Friday in the North Serb-populated part of the state hit a canal that sends water to its 2 main power plants. Pristina called it a quote-unquote terrorist attack conducted by Serbia. China successfully launched a new carrier rocket, the Long March 12, into space from the Hainan commercial spacecraft launch site in the southern island province of Hainan. This is the first launch mission undertaken by the Hainan commercial spacecraft launch site. Listen in.
可以兼顾3.35米、3.8米、4.2米直至5米直径的多构型的火箭，可满足19型火箭的发射需求。采用3频侧发模式设计，具有发射区站位时间短、环境适应好等特点。
In a historic first, Belgium has become the first country in the world to allow sex workers to sign formal employment contracts. Now, this move grants them access to sick days, maternity pay, and pension. The new law also guarantees fundamental rights for sex workers, including the ability to refuse clients, set the conditions of an act, and stop an act at any moment. While the lawmakers passed the law in May, it officially took effect on Sunday. As the holiday fever takes over the US, the American Museum of Natural History in New York has unveiled its annual origami holiday tree. It features over 1,000 hand-folded paper models. This year's theme, Jumping for Joy, celebrates the 2024 leap year with models of hopping animals like rabbits, frogs and kangaroos. The tradition began in the early 70s when a museum entomologist created a small tree with origami insects. The 5-day International Sand Art Festival has begun in Odisha's Puri district, where several sand artists displayed their works of art. The 14th edition of the event is spotlighting artists from the UK, Portugal, Mexico, Russia, as well as Indian practitioners from Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, West Bengal and Uttar Pradesh.